Flight Mh370 is one of the most mysterious and heart-wrenching incidents in the world. An incident in which a plane full of passengers suddenly disappears. No one knows whether this plane was swallowed by the earth or disappeared from the sky. This is the story of the delivery of March 8, 2014. 70 stand by a Malaysian airline flight Mh370 takes off from Kuala Lumpur at 12:42 in the night, and this flight has to reach Beijing in the next 5 hours. This flight used to run normally on this route. There were a total of 249 people on board this plane, out of which 227 were passengers and 12 crew members. The captain of this flight is Zahari Ahmad Shah, who is an experienced pilot who has 33 years of flying experience. And the co-pilot of this flight is Farik Hamid, who has 7 years of flying experience. At 1:08 in the night, this flight crosses the Malaysian coastline and reaches above the South China Sea. This flight reaches a height of 35 feet from the ground. This flight is still in contact with Kuala Lumpur ATC. Everything is going on normally. And at 1:19 a.m., this flight enters Vietnam's airspace and comes in contact with Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh ATC. And the captain of the flight says goodnight to Kuala Lumpur ATC, and these were the last words coming from this flight, about 2 minutes after reaching Vietnam airspace. This flight disappears from Kuala Lumpur ATC's radar. Now this was a normal thing for Kuala Lumpur ATC because this flight had reached Vietnam airspace far away from them, but mysteriously this flight disappears from Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh ATC's radar as well. Ho Chi Minh ATC tries to contact this flight again and again, but they do not get any response. Ho Chi Minh ATC immediately informs Kuala Lumpur ATC about this missing plane. No one could understand why, how and where this flight disappeared, and after this incident, the flight becomes Mh370. The biggest mystery of aviation in history. Hello friends, I am Sham Tamar. Welcome to this video. Everyone felt that due to some technical fault, the flight was not able to be contacted. It was morning and this flight should have landed in Beijing at 6 in the morning. But this flight did not reach there. Immediately a search operation was started to find this flight, and the sea was searched within a radius of several hundred kilometers from the place where the contact with the flight was lost for the last time. This search operation was so extensive that 7 countries involved their ships and aircrafts in this search operation to find this flight. More than 3 days passed while searching for this plane, but the search team could not find any clue of this flight. About 4 days after this incident, on March 12, 2014, another mystery related to this flight came to light which shocked everyone. Actually, this flight had disappeared from the civilian radar, but a military radar was still tracking this flight. The data received from the military radar about this flight surprised everyone. Actually, according to the data of the military radar, when this flight reached Vietnam airspace, it disappeared from the civilian radar. After that, this flight took a right turn and then a U-turn and headed back towards Malaysia, and after 31 minutes, the plane crossed the Penang city and turned towards the Malacca Strait, and this flight headed towards Andaman and Nicobar Island. The military radar tracked this plane till 2:22 in the night. After that, the plane went out of the reach of the military radar. Till now, there was no plane at the place where the plane was being searched. This incident had now taken a new turn. After all, where did this plane go? This plane had to go straight, but why did it take a U-turn, and why did it go towards the Indian Ocean? There were many questions about where the plane was after it disappeared from the military radar, but there were no answers. Now the searchers had another challenge to conduct a search operation in a part of the Indian Ocean. The rescue team was still looking for the plane in the Gulf of Thailand and South China Sea. They now started looking for the plane in this part of the Indian Ocean. Even after searching for many days, there was no trace of the plane in this area. No one was able to understand the mystery of this plane, and after a few days the story took a new turn and surprised everyone. After a few days, it was revealed that this plane was repeatedly trying to contact a satellite during its journey. Actually, it was a Boeing 777 aircraft, which had the technology to communicate automatically with the satellite. This aircraft tried to contact the Inmarsat after every 1 hour. After decoding this satellite data, it was found that after this aircraft disappeared from the military radar, it took another turn and remained continuously in this direction over the Indian Ocean for the next 5 hours. and this plane tried to contact the satellite for the last time at 8:19 in the morning. When the investigators analyzed the complex data of the satellite and did mathematical calculations of the ship based on its speed and the fuel present in it, they suspected the presence of the ship in the curve area of the Indian Ocean, about 2 kilometers west of Australia. And after this, the world's biggest search operation begins. And at one level, the investigation of this part of the ocean begins, but no trace of this ship is found. Then after April 24th, the search operation going on above the sea was stopped and deep ocean search was started, in which mapping of the bottom of the sea was done using modern technology and the ship was searched for years. This search operation was the world's most expensive search operation. And the search for this plane continued for 3 years, in which $160 million were spent, but no trace of this plane was found, and after 3 years the search operation was stopped. Although no trace of this plane was found, but 1 year after the disappearance of this plane, a flap of this plane was found on an island of Madagascar which reached this island with the waves of the sea. This was the plane's foam. This is the part of the plane which is used at the time of landing. When research was done on this flap, a horrifying scene of this plane was revealed. Experts believed that when this plane crashed in the sea, it hit the water on its side, due to which it was believed that Flight 370 was crashed intentionally. After all, why was this flight crashed and who was behind it? The Malaysian police investigated to investigate this. During the investigation, many more secrets related to this flight came to light which shocked everyone. Initially, it was believed that the flight might have caught fire due to a short circuit, due to which the communication system of the plane might have stopped working. Due to this, the captain of the plane might have thought of taking a U-turn and emergency landing the plane back in Malaysia. But here the question arises that why did the plane not land in Malaysia? So in answer to this, it was believed that due to some technical fault, there might have been a change in the pressure of the pilot cabin, due to which there might have been a lack of oxygen inside the cabin and both the pilots might have fainted. After which the flight might have gone on autopilot mode, due to which they could not land in Malaysia. But on its counter, experts believe that after the plane crossed Penang, the flight took a sharp turn. According to experts, no plane can take such a sharp turn on autopilot. So this means that the pilot deliberately made the flight turn and there was no technical fault in the flight. Maybe yes. It was believed that maybe someone might have hacked Flight Mh370 and the hackers wanted to keep the flight under their control. For this, the passenger's background was checked and it was found that there were 2 people in the flight who were traveling with fake passports, due to which it was believed that they might have hijacked the flight. But when the background of these 2 passengers was checked, it was found that they had no connection with any terrorist organization. Actually, both of them wanted to go to Europe and settle there with stolen passports. And anyway, the motive was to spread terror by hijacking this flight. So instead of crashing this flight into the sea, the terrorists could have crashed it into any city and they had not even placed any demand on the government. Due to this hacking theory was also rejected. Then whose conspiracy was behind Flight Mh370? For this, the Malaysian police investigated about both the pilots. So a flight simulator was found at the house of the captain of the flight, Zahari Ahmed Shah. Actually, a flight simulator is such a machine with the help of which pilots experience a real plane. Finding a flight simulator at a pilot's house is not a big deal. But the thing was that the path drawn in that flight simulator and the coordinates entered in it were coincidentally almost matching the route of Flight Mh370. It seemed that Captain Zahari S. Shah was practicing flight in his flight simulator on the route through which Mh370 flight had passed. This incident put the captain of the plane directly in the dock. Now the question arises whether the captain of the plane was actually the person who had conspired to make Flight Mh370 disappear. So for this entire incident has to be looked at once again carefully as to how this flight would have been made to disappear. Actually, something must have happened that 42 minutes after the plane took off, when the plane entered Vietnam airspace, the Malaysian ATC handed over the plane to Vietnam ATC, but Vietnam ATC could not establish contact with the plane even after trying repeatedly. This can happen only when the transponder of the plane is either damaged or has been deliberately switched off. Actually, the transponder is such a device through which the plane is able to establish contact with the ATC present on the ground and keeps telling ATC about its actual location. Well, it was a different matter that the transponder was switched off. Mh370 was a modern plane which had more than 4 ways to contact ATC, and it had never happened in the history of aviation that all the communication devices failed simultaneously. It meant that all the communication devices were switched off intentionally. If there was any technical fault in the plane, then why did the plane not do it after taking a U-turn? The pilot took the plane through the border of Thailand and Malaysia, which was not a coincidence, due to which the Thai ATC thought that the plane was in contact with Malaysian ATC and the Malaysian ATC thought that the plane was in contact with Thailand ATC. Going through this route meant that the pilot did not want anyone to track the location of the plane. The plane reaches Macca coast stealthily and takes another turn, which shows that only an experienced person can track the plane with such accuracy. That too without the help of ATC. Now a question may come to your mind that there were 2 pilots in the plane, so would the other pilot not have stopped the captain of the plane from doing this? So the answer is that when the plane takes off, both the pilots are busy in reaching the high altitude of the plane. After that the plane reaches cruise mode. After that the pilot gets some free time. In this free time the co-pilot must have gone out of the cockpit to drink tea or coffee. Meanwhile, the captain must have closed the cockpit door, and the cockpit door is so secure that it can only be opened from inside. The cockpit has the option of increasing or decreasing the oxygen inside the plane. If the captain had reduced the flow of oxygen inside the plane, then the passengers would have started suffocating, due to which they might have started losing their consciousness. The pilot took the plane to a deserted part of the sea while hiding where he could crash the plane. Although the plane can be landed in water, and this has been done many times in history. But for this the plane has to be landed horizontally. But Mh370 was made to crash vertically into the water, which puts the pilot under suspicion in this incident. Although this is just a theory that the captain of the plane might have caused the plane to crash. Because the incidents happening with this plane point towards Captain Zahir Ahmad Shah. But what is the truth is still a mystery. Although some people believe that Zahir Ahmad Shah was in depression for some days due to his family differences. Due to this, he crashed the entire plane to commit suicide. Although no one knows how much truth is there in these things, but the truth is that 249 people disappeared with Mh370, whose whereabouts are unknown till date. Just like Mh370, a horrifying incident happened in the Andes mountain ranges in which a plane full of passengers crashed on a desolate peak in the cold of -30 degrees Celsius. The survivors had only one option to keep themselves alive: to eat the dead bodies of their friends and family members. In fact, the story of Flight 571 is horrifying. You can watch the story of Flight 571 in this video shown on the screen. I will meet you there.